Okay, the topic that we were discussing about education, paper 3, 4.2, social mobility and the education. We have discussed few of the things that were related to the social mobility. Social mobility was something I told you that a movement from one place to another. Okay, social mobility is can be ascribed and the achieved status, or we define it in two perspective: ascribed status and the achieved status. For example, if you born in a poor family, that's becoming your ascribed status. Okay, or either or you born in a rich family, again that's becoming your ascribed status. On the other hand, the status that you achieved, like when you born in the poor family, that's becoming your ascribed status, but later on you work hard and now you can consider yourself a very rich family. That's rich status now has become your achieved status. So you can say that that movement from ascribed status to achieved status is known as mobility, is known as your social mobility. So we define that social mobility refers to the ability of individual or groups to move within a social hierarchy. Okay. Bachi, can you mute your mic? Okay. You can unmute it once you will speak. So this can be seen in changes in occupations, education, income, or the social status. So all these things we basically uh, discuss related to the social mobility. Further, we discuss that there are basically two ways to describe the social mobility: upward mobility and downward mobility. Upward mobility occurs when individual or group improve their social status, often through better education, higher paying jobs, or other form of social advancement. For example, a person born into a low income family who becomes a successful doctor experience, now that's become an upward mobility. While downward mobility, on the other hand, when individual or group experience a decline in their social status. For example, a person from a wealthy family who loses their job and face financial difficulties, now that's become an downward mobility. We basically categorize mobility, social mobility, into two parts. Number one, intergeneration mobility, and the other one, intrageneration mobility. Intergeneration mobility refers to changes in the social status between different generations within the family. For example, if a child of a factory worker became a lawyer, now that's become an intergeneration mobility. While intrageneration mobility refers to the changes in the social status within individual's lifetime. For example, a person who start um, as an entry level employee now become a CEO within the same company. So that's become an intergenerational mobility. That is something that we discussed yesterday. Now we are on to discuss about a different perspective about the social mobility, or the connection of the social mobility and the educations. So first perspective that we will discuss is the functionalist perspective. Functionalist perspective. Keeping in mind that what functional perspective we are discussing, functional argue that relationship between the education and the social mobility focus on how education system represent a bridge, how education system represents a bridge, represents a bridge between family and economy. For example, a family initially was a poor family. few months, few years after, the family now become rich family. So what will be the role of education? So education's playing a bridge role between the families and their financial positions. So that is the functionalist perspective overall. We will discuss that how education is strongly playing a bridge role in order to improve the family financial positions. First, we will discuss in the functionalist perspective, social mobility is functionally important. If we start from here, the social mobility is functionally important. Now, why it is important? Why we always talk about that there should be a mobility? It is important, or you can say people must be allowed to move up and move down the occupational and the social structure. This ensures that important social positions are filled by those who are most qualified. Let's say a government, let's say a government took an oath for 5 years, and this government wasn't up to the mark. You know, that particular government wasn't up to the mark for the country. You might say the pupils were corrupted, the people were unskilled. Now, why we need downward mobility? After 5 years, obviously, when you found that this government is not appropriate for your country, what you will do next time? You will give votes to the next person you thinks that this person is more qualified and more skillful to fill this position. Next 5 years, you will make sure that this person will be in charge, or you can say will take the responsibility in the particular positions in the next government. So now you can see that how this government, if I talk about the mobility, this government is now at the verge of downward mobility. Okay. Sometimes important position filled by unskilled people or not the best fit pupils. So that's why it is functional mobility. Social mobility, we define it as upward and downward. Okay. So that's
Hmm.
what we are saying, that why upward and downward things are important. Okay. Sometimes some important position filled by unskillful pupils by mistake or by choice whatsoever. So you can't rely on them the uh, like next 20 years or 25 years they will take a command or they will be on the same position, because if they stays on the same position, the whole society will be disturbed. So what you do, you try to you know what should I say, de-promote them to the next position, or maybe the you refer them to the next best position, which is suited for them. So now you can see a person who was on the best position, let's say he was a CEO, but he wasn't up to the mark for the company. Now, what you have done, you offer him a new job, let's say it could be something else. Now you can see the CEO has now in his downward mobility. Now, why downward mobility is important? Because by mistake, by choice, or by any mean, he was on the position that you can say that doesn't suit him, or he was not suitable for that particular position. And upward, you will hire another skillful person for that particular position. Now you can see that this person, or from that perspective, he is on the upward mobility. So upward mobility and downward mobility both are very important, just to make sure that any particular position must be filled by appropriate person. Okay.
Okay.
Now, why after 5 years we choose a new government? Just to make sure that this position is filled by very skillful and talented people. After 5 years, any government, you can say that's become a downward mobility, and some people, for the some people, that's become an upward mobility. Few new people come into the government, and few previous people, you can say they went out of the job. Okay, so that's why the social mobility either move upward or the downward. Upward just to encourage the talented people, and downward mobility just to promote those people which are not suited for a particular position. So both activities are very important. So that's why we mentioned that social mobility is functionally very important, just to make sure that important positions are filled by the talented people. Clear?
Okay.
The next perspective, from the functionalist point of view, if I talk about the upward mobility basically shows or demonstration of individual merit. Demonstration of individual merit. Look, as I told you, that upward mobility is a promotion of skillful or talented people, while downward is something that we related, like depromotion of unskilled people or non-responsible people. It could be anything. Okay, that's why we depromote them, or that's become a social downward mobility for them. And for the other people, we are encouraging them, that's become upward mobility. The next idea is that the upward mobility demonstration of the individual merit. What does individual merits mean? Individual merits mean, for the upward mobility, there is something you required. You need to be hard worker, you need to get skills. Okay, you need to be a determined or a committed person. So once you follow all these things, obviously at any stage of your life, you gradually will improve your social status. If you are in the educations, if you are committed, if you are determined, if you are a hard worker, you will get a good grades. If you are working somewhere in the education, if you are a hard worker, if you are committed to your objectives, obviously you will improve your position at the organization level. In fact, at any stage of your life, if you have all these things, commitment, determinism, and hard working, you would be able to mobilize yourself upward. Okay, so upward mobility, from the functionist perspective, that shows the demonstration of the individual merit. Individual merits mean it shows individual commitment, hard work, and other words that you can use it, determinism. Look, if you don't have these things, you cannot mobilize yourself upward, or you cannot move yourself on the top. Okay, so for the upward mobility, that's mean that individual is working hard. Okay, working hard for particular position, for particular things, for particular objectives, then he or she would be able to get particular things. Let's say, according to them, from sweeper, let's say if somebody is sweeper, or somebody who are not initially interested in the education, so he was doing some odd jobs. He worked hard in the education. Okay, now he became a doctor. So that shows that and individual commitment, determinism. That's why you can say that this particular person has mobilized himself upward. So the status of the upward mobility is closely associated with the person uh, commitments, or you can say in the short word we use the word individual merit. So there are few position in the societies that must require such kind of a characteristics that required individual merit. I mean, if you want to get these things, that may increase, or you can say that is highly paying job or have a high status. So if you want to get these position, you must be committed, determined, and the hard work. And these are the only things you can get these positions and in the order to improve your social status. I just hope that these things are now clear to you.
Yes.
Okay. So, to more people, we will discuss in the functionist perspective what they think about the social mobility. Number one, Harris, 2005. Harris suggests that education serve as a mechanism for the social mobility. Education serve as mechanism for social mobility for social mobility by providing individual with the skills, by providing individual with skills and education or qualification needs to move up, needs to move up. So from the Harris perspective, that education basically is something that gives you confidence, that gives you skills, that gives you a particular kind of qualifications that helps you to change your social status. Social status means upward social status. That basically helps you to move upward. According to these views, obviously school and universities plays a very critical role in equipping people for a better job opportunity and the higher social status. From that perspective, the other one we have Davis and Mori. Davis and Mori argued that social stratification and the mobility necessary for the society to function effectively. We already have a discussion on it, that why upward mobility or the social mobility is functionally important. So that is the perspective. They believe that certain positions in societies are most, according to Harris, education is something that gives you knowledge, skills that is required for the, or that is required to attain a particular position. For example, you wanted to become a psychologist. Okay, so what education will do? Education will give you a knowledge. It will give you some kind of a skills when you attend the workshops, when you attend some kind of a labs, when you will attend some particular kind of a practices. So before joining the job, education almost will prepare you for to attain that particular job. So according to the Harris, that this is the mechanism Okay, once you uh, work hard on your education, mean you work hard to get more knowledge, more skills from the education. Ultimately, this will make you not only a psychologist but a very good psychologist. And once you will be a very good psychologist, of course, your worth will be high as compared to the other psychologists. So once your worth is high, mean you are financially more strong. Getting simple perspective of the Haris. Is that clear?
Okay.
According to the Davis and Mori, social stratification, social stratification and mobility are are necessary for society to function effectively. Social stratifications mean division. Okay? Social stratification and mobility are necessary for the society to function effectively. Let's say, what does it mean social stratification? Social stratification is about the positions and their different criteria. For example, one job as a sweeper and other job, let's say, as a doctor. So they said this stratification, for example, they will ask you if you are not well educated, let's say if you are a matric, if your education is matric is fine, but here you must be an MBBS. Why this division is important for the Davis and the Mori? They said you have two options, either to become a sweeper, either to become a doctor. This position required more hard work. Okay, so people who wanted to improve, and obviously it will further improve your social status, financially, and all the stuff. So that's become your choice. Okay, if you want hard work, if you want to improve your social status, you will do hard work, and ultimately you will get this position. But if you are a lazy, if you don't do want a hard work, any kind of a hard work, you are you have related qualification or close to that particular qualification, you would be able to get this position. So in every society there are two kind of people, one who are lazy, another one who are hard worker. So you cannot say that people who are lazy and they have easy access to become a doctor. If they have an easy access to become a doctor, ultimately society will be disturbed or society functions will not work properly, will not work properly. So that different criteria is very important for the society to run effectively. You got this point?
Yes.
So they believe that certain positions in society are more important, okay, and required special skills. And as we have discussed here, they required particular skills. They required particular skills, and of course, which should be rewarded with a higher status. Of course, it should be recorded with a higher status and pay. This create incentive for individual to hard work and achieve those positions. So this is Davis and Mori perspective on the education and